All right, hold on, folks. If any of you are streaming live right now with us, we are working to get the video up and running here on YouTube. We are very close.
Crushing it. All right.
Okay. So we're still not live on YouTube. So let me see now what I need to do here. Could just be the delay. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll see if this works. All right.
Let's go. It's good. It's totally going to catch up.
Welcome in, everybody, to Gambling with Good JuJu, the show with all the madness you need this March. We are thrilled to be coming to everyone live in advance of the tourney on YouTube and maybe Twitter. I don't know if it's working right now on Twitter, but we will find out.
I'm on the case.
We are joined today by our favorite college sports handicapper, Lemoyne Dolphin Hall of Famer and Circa Booby Prize winner, Mike Montesano. For more on Mike, check out his Twitter account at Bets and Reps. You can access his Substack from his Twitter page, which is how I always do it, which I have been doing every single day over the last couple of weeks, Mike. I've absolutely loved the content that you're putting out via your Substack. It's been very helpful for my college basketball betting this season.
Cool. That's what it's supposed to. It's what it's there for. And it's funny when the conference tournaments they start rolling around, and you try to get as many conference tournaments done that you can, and at the same time you're handicapping and checking odds and pricing and everything, and you want to get it out as fast as you can, but you want quality stuff too, and trying to organize your thoughts and organize your numbers. And I think we did pretty well for the conference tournaments, and hopefully we can roll on with the big dance.
Yeah, I was using your projections for all of my pregame betting, and then I do have a small addiction to Todd Wishnev's Discord where he's giving out live plays. If I'm sitting around on the couch watching TV or whatever, I keep his notifications on as well. So the two of you sustained me this college basketball season because our model did not.
Yeah, great job on the Substack. Appreciate you putting so much info out.
All right, while we get started, folks, do us a favor and give us a subscribe on YouTube. If you're following along next day on your favorite podcast platform, give us a follow there as well. We can be found on all the socials at Good Juju Bets. And if you really like us, then head on over to goodjujubets.net, click on the merch shop, and show your support. Enough screwing around. It's tourney time. Mike, welcome into the show. Let's get started. Cue the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire music.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum.
All right, Mike, before we get into each of the regions, let's see what you're already on. As you head into this year's tourney, what futures tickets are you currently holding?
All right, I have 3 to win the title futures. Michigan from back in May when Yaxel Lindenberg, the day he decided to pull out of the draft, I jumped on him at 20. I jumped on Michigan 25-1 to win the title. Just looking at their roster and everything that they had going in from the portal. And then he just kind of was the icing on the cake. I said I figured that number was going to go down. I think it did go down pretty quickly to like 20, maybe 18-1. So that was the first one. Then it was a numbers play. It was Notre Dame. It was North Carolina State 100-1 when Will Wade decided to go to North Carolina State. I said 100-1. He had some good transfers coming in. They just haven't quite been able to put it together. But who knows? They're in the dance. Maybe they can, make a run. And then with that 100-1 ticket, you can maybe hopefully monetize when they get to the Elite Eight. And later in the year, I did take Michigan State when they were playing really well in January. I took them at 35-1. They were like top 9 or top 8 at KenPom. They had all the metrics. They looked like they were heading up, especially offensively. So I was like, I got to jump on these guys now. And well, they're 55-1 now. So it's the same old thing with Michigan State. They can defend. Their offense is okay. It's better than it has been. They're still in like the top 10 at Ken Palm, but I don't know if they have enough offense with all these juggernauts ahead of them to cut down the nets. But hey, they get to the Final Four. Maybe we can hedge that ticket. But I'll talk about that in a second. Why I don't think they're going to do it. I actually have a better one that I just did today. I did Vanderbilt back in November. At 15-1 to make the Final Four. And I believe I got that at DraftKings. I'd already had them to win the SEC at plus 850. They didn't get the job done. But I think everyone saw this during the SEC tournament, what Vanderbilt's all about. So I have them at 15-1. They have a shot. If you look at their bracket, they have a shot. It's a tough bracket, but they have a shot. And then I just did today, I did USF to make the Sweet 16 at 12-1. There's a little bit of an edge there when you look at the percentages and the probabilities of them making the Sweet 16 with the market odds compared to what the true odds are. My true odds, a little blended in with the guys at Team Rankings as well. I kind of used their numbers. They have some pretty sharp numbers. I used my numbers, kind of made my own number today. And I had about a 2.6, 2.7% edge, something like that. So I jumped on South Florida just to make the Sweet 16 at 12-1 or plus 1,200.
Right. It feels like your card's a little light this year. Is that true?
It is. Yeah,
Any reason for that?
Yeah, I think I was so enamored with Michigan. I said, I don't know if I want to add anything else. And then,
Really?
they all have their flaws. All the ones have their flaws, even though their numbers are absolutely outstanding. The Ken Palm numbers are fantastic. My personal ratings, they're all up there. If I'm going to make a play, it might be Duke. I still haven't decided yet. But, with some of the injuries that they're dealing with right now, I know Foster's out. The big center Ngumba is scheduled to come back, I think, and he's a big piece defensively for them. So I just, it wouldn't be a great number, obviously, but, Duke and Michigan could meet in the final. But, I usually have about at least 6. At really good prices, and I didn't pull the trigger on too many this year.
You grabbed Michigan too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we're both on Michigan.
Yeah.
You messaged us about that one, so we got on that with you. Not to brag, I'm also on Duke. I have them at 14-1. So
nice one.
Great number.
I feel pretty good about that. Let's start here. It's wild to me to see Duke at plus 380, Michigan at plus 380, and Arizona at plus 380 with the exact same odds on FanDuel to win the title. Then after those three teams, there's kind of a cliff. Like Florida was plus 900 or something along those lines as the next highest team. What do you think of the top 4 seeds going into this year? Do you think, is this another year where you can see all 4 number ones make the Final Four? And is that something you would consider even betting?
I don't know if I'd bet it, just because I do think each team has their flaws. I mean, you got some other teams right below them, like an Iowa State, Purdue, even a Michigan State that are all creeping up there. And if they end up playing one of those teams, even a Vanderbilt right now is playing really well. Upsets happen all the time. If you the numbers are the numbers, though. I mean, you look at Michigan and Arizona and Duke, and we're talking, top 6, 7 Ken Palm all time. Duke is right up there, and Michigan. And I wrote an article about Michigan back in on my Substack back in December, I think it was, and just kind of broke down why they were so good at the time. And they just kind of, right after I sent the article out, they kind of faltered a little bit. But they're all high quality teams, great coaches, with maybe the exception of Mr. Tommy Lloyd at Arizona. But we'll see. He's got some redemption to do, to see how he can handle that. But he's got a high octane offense. He's got a great team, and it could be like addition by subtraction with no Caleb Love the last 2 years. But he's got a lot to prove. But these number ones are good. I just don't know if I would bet. And I don't know what the price is. I didn't look at it. I don't know if I would take anything to, for all 4 number ones to get to the Final Four this year. I think we were all I think last year was the first time we had been like, God, I really think all 4 number ones are going to get there, because there was a separation from the 4 from like 5, 6, 7, 8. There's not that big of a separation this year, you know. So it's just something just to keep in mind when you're filling out your brackets and you know, and how you want to proceed further.
Yeah.
Over under 2. Number 1 seeds. What do you say? Over under 2.
They get 2.5. Come on.
Okay.
If it's 2.5, I'm going to say under.
Under.
Oh,
Okay.
Based
okay.
on my brackets that I did, I'm going to go under.
All right.
So, given that it has seemingly felt recently post NIL like it's kind of heavy towards the non-Cinderella teams, is the concept of the Cinderella taking a big hit in the modern era relative to their potential to go on runs pre-NIL?
Yes, I mean, you're taking like schools from players from the MAC or the Missouri Valley. I'm just using just off the top of my head some of the mid majors where kids want to get the bag. They want to get paid, you know. So they're going to find a Power 4 school and they're going to head off there because they know that, hey, you know what? I might not be able to play professional basketball. Maybe not, obviously, the NBA. Maybe I'm not even good enough to go to the G League. But I am good enough to make a roster, and I can make 400,000 or 500,000, 600,000. I mean, we're talking that's big time money.
Yeah.
You know, you look at some of these rosters, and you could have a roster of $3-4 million. Well, that might not compare to some of the bigger schools like Kentucky or Ohio State or Indiana or whatever. But if you could get to one of those schools that has an NIL budget of 6, 7, 8 million. And you can be the 7th or 8th man, and they're going to pay you 500,000 coming from a Mid-American, a MAC school. Then you're going to take it.
Right.
I mean, you're going to take it because if the MAC school can only pay you 100,000 or whatever, 50, 60, 70,000, whatever it may be, you're going to take that money. You're going to go. You might not be a starter, but you could be a major contributor on a really good team. I mean, Michigan built their roster from the portal. Yaxel Lendenberg came from UAB. The big kid Mora came from Florida Atlantic, I believe. I mean, they're not. There might be the mid major, then the Power 4, then there might be the step right in the middle, and that's what a couple of those schools are from. So they went and they really have helped out that program. So, yeah, it's changed, man. It's not going to get any better. There isn't going to be a salary. I don't care what anyone says. There's not going to be a salary cap. There's ways around it to give people money. I mean, you look at Texas Tech's football roster, $40 million, and there's way, you got oil money, you got donors, they want to win, they got money to spill, so it's not going. And I kind of like, I mean, for me, I like it. I like the players getting paid. I don't really care how much they get paid. That's not my job. My job is to try to determine the roster, determine how good the player is, what that player might be worth during the season if he's not playing, how many points, so on and so forth, and then try to get ahead of the market like a Michigan at 25-1 when Yaxel decided to go back. I mean, he was a stud at UAB, and I thought that he was going to – and he was like, he probably would have been 16, 17, 18, 19 in the draft, and he's like, hey, I'm going to go back. I'm going to collect some good money from Michigan and, try to improve my draft stock.
Okay. So even if, like, let's say in your personal bracket, you might not have a team in your Final Four, but are a specific team in your Final Four, but are there any teams on the board whose odds you look at to either make the Final Four or win the championship that you think there's still some meat on that bone?
Yeah, I think Iowa State. I don't have them winning the title, but I have them getting to the Elite Eight against Michigan. They are a team that can shoot the three well. They just don't shoot free throws that great. That's my concern. They defend, and they're slowly moving up the Ken Pom rankings. So, like, if you go to Ken Pom, and they're in the top 6 or 7. I'm just going there right now. I think they're in the top. They are 6 at Ken Pom with 32.43. So, yeah, I would say Iowa State.
I'm trying to look up right now. Do you know what their future number is to win the title by chance?
Were they 12-1 or 15-1?
I think it was 16 earlier. Yeah.
16 earlier. Yeah.
So I have a ticket on Iowa State as well.
Yeah.
I have a lot. I have a big card. I don't have a Mike Montesano card this year, folks. I have a fairly large card. I also have UNM. So if we're going to call out good plays versus bad plays, New Mexico was another one of my tickets that's not going to cash because they're not even in the tournament.
Yeah, you'll have that.
So that's a good one to have as a potential team to consider going into the tournament. The other thing that I'll note is when I went through my bracket this year, and this goes back to the Cinderella topic, I think I'm targeting a much chalkier flow to my bracket this year in a way I've never done before. Like, I like to be the hot take guy trying to pick some of these upsets, but with the way things have been going and with what, Mike, what you're saying about the NIL and players moving on from mid-majors to the higher teams, like, this was the year. This is the chalkiest bracket I've ever put together, I think, in my entire life. So I don't know, but I like.
Yeah, I mean, the injuries also will derail some. A team like Texas Tech with topping out. And it's everyone's darling is Akron right now. I mean, that line's is been going down since it opened. I think it was at 10, and now it's at like 7.5 or 8. So I mean, that you can have that again. These top teams could get picked off. I mean, you look at the Michigan game when they lost to Wisconsin at home. They turned the ball over a million times, and Wisconsin hit like 15 threes, and Michigan made like 4 or 5, right, whatever it was. It was like a huge 3-point field goal disparity, and they returned the ball over at a crazy rate. So it can happen, but the probability of some of the, like, what do we have, the Loyola Chicago's a few years ago, and the Florida Atlantics, and the San Diego States. I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon. They can pick off like first. We like seeing upsets in the beginning, and then we want to see the big dogs at the end. And I think that's what we'll get in the Elite Eight and the Final Four.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, you're starting to give stuff away, so let's do this. We're going to dive into the brackets. Let's kick things off, Mike, in the South region. We've got the defending champs at the top and a Houston team that many think was hosed out of a 1 seed at the bottom. Also, a potential rematch of last year's title game if they both make the Elite Eight. So, let's start here. Any bets you have on the first round in this region?
Let's see. We will go to Vanderbilt McNeese.
Oh, baby. Please.
And I did bet Vanderbilt minus the 11. I think it's 11 or 11.5. And we're going to just quickly look at that for a second. And then it's going to get into, I kind of teased, when I had the Maryland Grand Canyon game from last year, I kind of explained why I took them. And it seemed like the Grand Canyon was the trendy dog last year. We'll get to that next, but this is similar. You look at a team like McNeese, we have and this is a Ken Pom net rating. This has really nothing to do with my personal ratings, but it does because I do make a projection. But if you just look at the Ken Pom net rating from 2024, and McNeese was plus 11.8, Gonzaga was plus 23.2. And the line on that game, I can't remember. It was like 11.5 or 12.5, or I'd have to go back and look. But Gonzaga won by 21. And then you go the next year, McNeese, they did upset Clemson in the first round. That was a good upset for them, but they played a better team in Purdue, a lot better than the Zags. They had a net rating of 31.2, and they blew out McNeese 93-71. So now we're going to look this year. McNeese a little bit worse than they were last year. Their net rating is 12.5. Vanderbilt 27.5. My projection had it at 15.3. 13.8, but the last 5 I had a projection of 15.5. So I jumped on Vanderbilt on a numbers play when you kind of look at the history of McNeese and who they played, because that's talent, and we got to understand net ratings have to deal with talent. And Purdue and Vanderbilt, similar teams. Vanderbilt's a little bit less than last year's Purdue team. And then if you go look at the Zags team from 2024, when McNeese plays higher competition and a lot more quality players, they don't seem to respond too well. And I jumped on and Vanderbilt has elite. We all watch Vanderbilt against Florida. They have elite shot makers. and an awesome, awesome coach. Mark Boddington from James Madison. He can coach, love him. So I jumped on Vandy.
All James Madison does is produce coaches. I mean, the greatest coach in the history of college football, apparently, is Kurt Cignetti, who just came from James Madison as well. Okay, so yes, I tailed you on Vanderbilt to the Final Four. Once again, I do also have a ticket on them to win it all. So big card for Breezy, but a card I feel pretty darn good about. I like the play. What was the number you got Vandy at for the audience?
11 and a half.
11 and a half. Okay, so if we're in that range,
I added 11, but I do. You'll see 11 and a halves out there as well.
Okay, I see Juice is taking notes for both he and I here, so that we know what we need to go bet on at the end of this. So great job.
Hopefully we have enough people watching, and well, not hopefully, but eventually you get your bet in, and then you'll get the awesome CLV.
Right.
I dare you people to go move the number on me. I dare the live audience to go do that on me. Okay. Are there any, does anyone pull off the first round upset for us in this region?
I took VCU. I didn't bet it. I might still bet it. If I do, I'll post it on X. I didn't bet it yet. But as an 11 seed against North Carolina, North Carolina hasn't been the same without Caleb, who's out for the year with an injury. I like how VCU plays. I like their coach. And I don't know if you heard, if they didn't win the conference tournament, the chair said they weren't making it. I couldn't believe it. They weren't going to make it. They're pretty good. So the ratings are close. My projection had North Carolina minus 3.9. The Ken Pom net ratings 20.8, 17.2. You're almost looking at a coin flip game, and VCU's got some momentum now. So that I think that's the big upset for that round.
Okay, I like it. Let's take a moment on St. Mary's here, down in the 7-10 game. Now, I'm a night owl, so I have a soft spot in my heart for all things West Coast Conference basketball. First of all, do you like them to knock off Texas A&M? And if they do they have any chance of hanging with Houston?
Styles make fights. A&M wants to just get in your face and press you 94 feet. And as a good buddy of mine texted me today, he said that style doesn't work in the NCAA tournament. They're not loyal to Marymount. And, Bennett's a great coach, St. Mary's, one of his better teams, very efficient offensively, and they're going to slow the game down. They'll break the press, and they're going to be methodical, and they're going to get the ball inside, and they're going to make their cuts, and they're really efficient defensively. I took St. Mary's to win that. I didn't bet it. I did take them to advance. Whether they can get by Houston or not, I don't know. The athletes Houston has, again, they play super slow. They play slow as well. So that's the problem. When you got teams that play slow, and if they can shoot the three well, they can play against the big boys. And Houston, that's how Kelvin Sampson always plays. If I might reference this a few times, so I apologize. I'm not trying to promote my Substack because it's free, so whatever. But I wrote the statistical blueprint of a college basketball champion, and I said tempo wasn't the main thing, but it is something to take a look at. As if you slow games down, all it takes is one hot team to get the job done and upset you. And they just, for some reason, that's just how they play. And they were one game away last year from proving me wrong, but Florida got it done. Okay, so this isn't his best defensive team he's had in a while. So I give St. Mary's a fighting chance, but I just think the athletes at Houston are they're too good, and I think they advance.
Okay. All right. So I have one game we'll talk about in a second in that bracket. That's the Maryland Grand Canyon clone. Okay. Well, I hope it's not the next one I want to talk about, because I waited 3 questions to ask the only thing I really care about in this entire interview. So Illinois definitely has to play Houston in the Sweet 16, you're thinking? I feel like my Illini got about as easy a path to the second weekend as I could have hoped for. Do you agree? How would you stack my Illini? First of all, can they make it to the second weekend in your opinion? And how would they stack up against Houston in that Sweet 16 game?
I love Illinois, especially if the VCU can pull the upset. They're going to get to the Sweet 16, play Houston, and it's a coin flip game, right?
Oh, really?
So it's a coin flip game.
We can't close a game, Mike. We literally
I know.
cannot. We don't have that guy who just you give. Wagler is our best player, but he is a young freshman, and it shows in the late stages of a game.
Yeah.
Go
It does.
Sorry.
I worry about them defensively too, but when if you're playing a team like Houston, who is known to go on those tailspins during the game, and then if Illinois can get hot, I took Illinois over Houston. Again, it's a coin flip, but I think when you have the better offensive team that they do, and they're clearly the better offensive team, is they're number 2 in the nation in adjusted offense. They'll get it done. They'll figure it out. And then when you head to the I have them. We'll go up top a little bit. I have Florida over Vandy, and then Florida, Illinois in the Elite Eight.
Okay, so you have Florida over Vandy. That was the other thing I was kind of curious about. We just saw Vandy take care of Florida. You think that this doesn't happen in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think you throw the word revenge out. I just think you didn't get the Florida A game for that game. I think there was a little bit of karma that kind of bit Coach Golden with some of the comments he made after the Kentucky game. We should have won by 20, and really smug attitude. And it might be a wake-up call for them because they got rocked. And if they bring their A game with that front court, they're going to need the guards to play. I like Boogie Flan. He's done really well in the NCAA tournament. He did really well last year when he was at Arkansas. So I think there's enough for Florida to get over Vandy, but I think there's just too much firepower at Illinois, and I do have Illinois advancing over Florida to get to the Final Four.
All right, we're good. We'll talk to you later, Mike.
I'm not just saying that so I can get in the podcast next year.
Just for the record, Illinois also have a ticket on.
Yeah, do you really?
Yeah. Well, you and I were talking about that. I wanted to pull the trigger how many times? I just couldn't do it until I saw some improvement with their defense. But their defense kind of stayed stagnant or got a little worse, but their offense kept getting better. Yeah. And I still, if they could play offensively for 4 straight games, they'll be fine. They'll get to the Final Four.
All right. So your Elite Eight teams were Florida and Illinois, and mine were Vandy and Houston. I would be so happy to be wrong, and I will lose whatever bracket this isn't even going in pool if we can get Illinois to the Final Four.
Hell yeah.
That would just be so amazing. Okay. Let's move over.
Right.
Let's move over.
Hold on. I got to talk to you about the one game.
Oh, yes.
Right,
what is the
let's
one
go.
game?
Yeah. I know people have been dying, and then they'll probably stop listening and whatever. But no, don't listen. Keep watching. I know we teased the game today, and it's the same process that I did last year. Same process I just showed you with McNeese, okay, and McNeese and Vandy. Now we're going to go to Nebraska and Troy. Troy seems to be the hot team right now, right? Everyone's talking about Troy. Nebraska hasn't played that great lately, but the last 10, Nebraska is done well. I look at last 10 numbers and overall numbers for the year. Troy last year made the NCAA tournament. They played Kentucky. Kentucky had a net rating of 24.5. Troy had a net rating of 7.0. The line in that game was 11.5. Kentucky blew them out of the water. Okay, I think they won by 19. Okay. They won by 19. If you go to this year, I like the Troy coach a lot. I do. They play slow, try to be methodical, efficient, and when you're talking about, again, when you're playing the big boys, you want to play a little bit more efficiently. You want to slow the game down. Well, they're playing Nebraska this year. Okay, Nebraska has a net rating at Ken Palm of 26.2.
Okay.
Troy's net rating is 1.7. We're talking 5.3 worse than last year. We're talking Nebraska, quick math, 1.7 better than Kentucky's was last year. Okay. I have Nebraska minus the 12.5. You can find 12.5. So we're talking a 1 point differential from the spread last year to this year. So you got a worse Troy team. Again, they slow it down. I had to compensate for, the slow play. And Nebraska hasn't been there, and they might be a little nervous. I understand, and it's tough. But when I'm just going pure numbers and I look at that, I had Nebraska originally at minus 19.3, but I had to adjust it for the pace of play. It dropped it to 17.3. It still gives you a nice edge. So that is the Maryland Grand Canyon game.
All right.
2 stars.
All right.
2 stars.
We're gonna build these.
No stars. You can go by edges. You know, if you got a little bit bigger of an edge, you can maybe throw a little bit more on it. But I have been hearing a lot of love for Troy the last couple days. Because it's a lot of points, and people worried about how Nebraska's played lately. If you take the last 10, I've got Nebraska minus 15.5, I think, or 15.7. I have to double check. But they, quality coach, first time, they might be a little nervous in the beginning, but the numbers are the numbers. And, again, if they can slowly build the lead in the second half, then the pace of play has to pick up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So Troy then has to play faster than they're normally accustomed to playing.
Yep.
But then that will benefit Nebraska and their players because they have the talent edge,
Right.
in this one.
I love it.
How far do you have Nebraska losing the next round of Vanderbilt? Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. I have Nebraska losing to Vandy.
All right, folks.
It's going to be by the point spread. Vandy will be favored by a couple, but I just think Vandy's they're too good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have an official best bet, 20,000 max whale unit lock of the century. No, I'm kidding. That was Nebraska minus 12.5.
Yeah.
So we will make sure and get on that. Folks, don't all move the line on us now.
Can I throw? I put on X. I put on X yesterday. I got just so it's already on there. I'm sure people got SMU minus 6.5 and Prairie View plus 3.5. Those are just pure numbers plays. And again, we all know everyone loves Miami of Ohio. So, but if BJ Edwards comes back, like I think he's scheduled to be, that's gonna propel SMU a little bit more. So that was a numbers play as well.
Fantastic.
Okay. All right. We're gonna go off script for one more second. Then, do you think Miami of Ohio should have gotten in?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm one of those. I know the numbers don't add up, and Bruce Pearl was upset. You can look at all the metrics you want, the high analytics, which we all do. But I'm sorry, 31-0.
Yeah.
Got
to account for something, man, right? It's gotta really account for something.
I agree. And if it makes Bruce Pearl mad, it makes me happy. So that works as well. All right, are we good on the South region?
Yeah, one down.
We're good.
All right.
One down. We got some bets to get in.
We've got a lot.
Yeah, we do.
We got work to do when we get off this.
This is getting
good. Okay, let's move over to the East region. This is where Duke is the overall number 1. UConn is the 2. This region is found in the upper left of my bracket. Do you have? Well, I'm going to skip past. We'll wait. If you have any best bets, we'll talk about it as we go along. Let's start here. Cameron Boozer. When I last looked, he was running away with the player of the year in the KenPom ratings. Does anyone in this bracket have a talent anywhere close to him or that can compare to him that might be able to slow him down? What do you think about the talent gap between Duke and some of these other teams or all these other teams?
Well, everyone's saying this is the toughest Duke bracket by name, okay? Because you got Michigan State, you got UConn, you have Kansas. So yes, the names make you think that it's the toughest bracket, but metrically, at KenPom, they have a 38.9 net rating at KenPom. I mean, UConn's 27.9, Michigan State's 28.3.
Yeah.
Louisville's 25.4, Kansas 20. So yeah, I can go on. I mean, you're talking about a points per 100 possessions, and when I say net rating, I don't want to keep saying per 100 points per 100 possessions, but net rating, you're looking at pretty big significance there between, especially UConn, if they which I have them meeting in the Elite Eight. So I mean, I know the injury to Foster is going to hurt, but they got guys that can come in and just extend those minutes. And they have length everywhere. Okay, they're the second tallest team in the country, and John Shire figured out the formula: defend the three, protect the paint. And the last 2 years, their defensive efficiency has been off the charts. Okay, and then you got a stud in Boozer who's never lost in his entire life. If you go look at 4 state championships, USA gold medals, EYBL, him and his brother, it's just like they're born winners, man. And there's something to say about that. And they are so, you can just see their mannerisms, so humble. They work hard. I mean, their father was a really good NBA player. I just don't see anyone. I just see Duke getting to the Final Four.
I'm kind of surprised that folks are saying this is a challenging path for them. This feels fairly straightforward as far as I'm aware.
Well, they're saying it because of the names, like I said.
Yeah.
Oh, UConn, Kansas, Louisville.
Yeah.
It's the names. It's the brand names.
But they aren't that good.
They're not that good. They are not that good.
I don't have tickets on any of them.
Dig into the analytics. I mean, can they lose? Of course they can lose. They almost lost. What was the game in the tournament, in the AC tournament? They Florida State. They almost lost to Florida State, right? So, but they were learning that they were learning how to play without those 2 top guys. So they learned on the fly to play without them. And if they can get the big center back, Foster's not going to be there. They have the firepower. And more importantly, they have the defensive capabilities to control any offensive team because they're so good on the perimeter. They're so good on the inside, and they don't give up second chance opportunities.
Okay. All right. So let's dive into some of these other teams then. As we had already talked about, you have a bet on South Florida to make the Sweet 16. Are we taking them over Louisville?
We did. I did. I took them to advance. I love this South Florida team. Love their coach. Rumors of him going to Syracuse or Providence or maybe now even staying at USF. Jeff Goodman's been reporting on that today, so you can go check out his Twitter page and see all the rumors about that. But he's highly analytically driven. He's from the Nate Oates tree. No nonsense guy, which I love. Buttoned up. Like the buttoned up coaches, he's buttoned up and he's got some players. So Louisville just doesn't do it for me. They shoot 52% of their shots are from 3-point range. They live and die by the 3. Now, if you watch the USF line, that is now it's going down. I can't give it out now because it's I think at 4.5.
Yeah.
But the first I was texting buddies right away and I said you gotta jump on USF because I saw. I think FanDuel, I think BetMGM had 6.5, but DraftKings, I think, had 7.5. So I jumped on 7.5 pretty quickly. They moved it to 6.5, not right after I bet it, but they did eventually move it down. And now it's going and going and going. And I've got them to even beat Michigan State. I know everyone's like, how can you take them to beat you? You've got to root for Michigan State. You have them 35-1. Listen, I just try to play some numbers. They have an edge to get to the Sweet 16. All you have to do is get to the Sweet 16, 12-1, and you can kiss the Michigan State ticket goodbye. So it's can they do it? Yeah, they can do it. Will they do it? Well, there's a small probability that says that they will. So, but they got to take care of business first. And he's going back into his hometown of Buffalo. He grew up in Buffalo, so he's an upstate New York guy. And they'll have a big contingent of USF fans, and they might be the darling of the NCAA tournament when it's all said and done.
Okay. Well, Jeremy Fears gets 2 technicals for being a punk against South Florida, gets kicked out of the game. Let's go.
Let's go.
Right there. I still got beef with him. So Michigan State, is it that you're high on USF or that you're down on Michigan State?
A little
Or
bit of
combo?
both.
A little bit of
A
both.
little bit of both. I mean, hey, Michigan State could play Louisville, Louisville wins by 1 or something. I just down on Michigan State. I thought they were headed in the right path to get up there, that top 4 or 5 of Ken Pom ratings, and they just, they had some crazy losses. Their offense just looks stagnant, and it's a typical Izzo team. And I know everyone's March Izzo. I'm hearing a lot of love for him to make the Final Four. Maybe. I mean, maybe he pulls some magic, but I just don't see it this year. So we'll see.
Well, fade Michigan State by Illinois on the Final Four is music to my ears. So I will take that all day long.
I do have a bet in this, another bet.
Yeah, I was going to say, any other plays or interesting games out of that first round you like?
Yeah, there's 2 bets I made. I talked about this on VSiN Primetime with Matt and Tim. Matt was asking me, like, who do you see potentially with big upsets? And the first team I thought of was Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa. Tremendous defensive team in the Ken Pom ratings, and they play a snail's pace as well. They slow it down. And that's the type of game you're going to need to play to beat St. John's. We all know St. John's has the athletes. I don't think they will beat St. John's, but taking the number, I think it's what number I got, 10.5, 11. I made it 10.3. I compensated for the tempo in that game. I dropped it about a 1.5 because of the tempo, and it's a fair line. But I just think Northern Iowa, they're tough. They're tough. That's a lot of points. So I jumped on them.
Okay. You said 2. Is there another?
Yes, 2. Yes. UCLA, UCF. I actually took UCF to advance over UCLA. And I took UCF plus it's 5.5, 6. I took it at plus 6. It is 5. I would still take it at 5.5. The fair line I have it is 5. I definitely wouldn't go below 5, but I did take UCF. UCLA's got some injury issues going on. Tyler Bilodeau he had a scary injury in the Big Ten tournament. We don't know if he's in or out, but if he's out, he's at least 2 to 3 points to the line. Okay. And I think the line was at 7. It's slowly going down. I think there's some news trickling down that he may not play. I mean, his net rating. Okay, I'm gonna get nerdy now. His net rating is on-off net rating is plus 4.7 on-off difference. Okay, so when he's on the court, UCLA is 4.7 points better per 100 possessions than when he's off the court.
Interesting.
Okay, Donovan Dent been playing tremendously, right? He's been playing tremendously. Well, his on-off rating is not as good. And these are all courtesy. I'll give these guys a plug. Nick over at CBB Analytics. I've emailed him a few times. Great guy. You can really dive deep into the impact of how players do on and off the court. They have RAPM. I'm not going to get an RPM. I talk to college coaches. They don't know what RAPM is. And these are local coaches, and they're like, what? I said, just go research it. So anyways, everyone knows about on-off. The NBA, you hear it all the time. Brian Windhorst just talked about on-off splits with LeBron James and Luka and so on. So when Donovan Dent is off the court compared to when he's on the court, UCLA is minus 18.1.
Okay.
18.1? The guy's playing
huge.
great, but there's some type of synergy there when he's on the court this year that it's just not translating. Even though he's a tremendous player, his RAPM, which deals with impact for players, shows that he is having a very good year. He's plus 4.5. But there's something going on with maybe he's got to adjust the lineups with him. It has a lot to do with lineups because that's what the team rating is. And if you notice, he got hurt at the end of the first half of the Purdue game, right?
Yep.
It was tied 39-39. Well, I think they got smacked in the second half when he didn't play. So, yeah. I mean, it's little things like that. So if he does play and Tyler does not, Okay, maybe the line goes up a little. Maybe you can still, maybe you'll get a better number than me when I got it at 6. So just kind of keep an eye on that. But I don't know if Tyler's going to play, and I think the sharps and the smart guys are starting to move that down. So I took UCF.
Now, when you bet these teams against the spread, do you ever look to sprinkle on the money line?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. I didn't do it for this one. Maybe I will.
I don't
I might have just talked myself into doing it.
Yeah,
So,
I don't do that in the regular season, but I feel like tourney time, I don't know,
Yeah.
it feels like the right play. Maybe.
UCLA, right now they're playing really well, and a lot of people are high on them, but I haven't heard anyone talk about UCF at all. If I recall, I think they beat up Kansas pretty good at home. I have to go back and look. They beat some quality team really, really good. I mean, and they're not a great team, but they deserve to be in the bracket as a 10 seed, and so we'll look for the mild upset there, 10 over a 7.
Okay. I do love Donovan Dent. He's a former Lobo. He was definitely my favorite player.
He's very
when he was
good.
with Lobos.
He's good.
But I know I feel like I can understand that a little bit. He is definitely a ball dominant player when he's on the court. So that makes sense. Okay. So one other thing I kind of think is interesting here are St. John's and UConn to me were the two best teams in the Big East, both in the same bracket region. I'm not sure if you agree with that or not, but you just mentioned St. John's as a potential pickoff candidate against Northern Iowa. What about UConn? How do you feel about
I've got UConn advance. If UCF can pull the upset, even if UCLA does win it, I think they just have the talent and they got the coach that'll get it. But they didn't look good against Marquette and they didn't look good against St. John's. But overall, the body of work, UConn is still UConn because they have a coach that's won 2 national championships. So if I took UConn. I'm rooting for that 12-1, man. I want USF to get to the Sweet 16. I think that might be it for USF. I took UConn over USF, and then in the big one, Duke versus UConn. I just think Duke's too talented, especially defensively. UConn goes through stretches where they just can't score. They struggle to score, and Duke has, like I've said over and over again, they have the defense and they get the job done. And I've got Duke versus Illinois on that side of the bracket.
Ooh, that's beautiful. the UConn path's interesting to me because if they go Furman, UCF, USF, that's a pretty easy run for a 2 seed to the Elite 8.
Sure is.
I hope Hurley's not yelling too much during those games.
Oh. I mean, he's a nut job on the sideline, but I give him all the respect in the world. The players love him, man. You don't see too many players packing up their bags and transferring. He knows how to coach. He knows how to pull the right buttons. I think behind the scenes, he does a really good job creating relationships with the players. Yeah. I think what you see on the court might be for show a little bit. But, Duke's just, they're too talented this year.
Okay. All right. Let's move over to the Midwest region now. We have Michigan as the favorite to win it all, right there at 380 with the others, and we're sitting on that ticket, so I know where our hearts probably are in all this. But Iowa State is a pretty darn good-looking team if you look at the analytics on them as well at the 2 spot. This region, we can find this in the lower right of the sheet for us here. Any best bets, any thoughts, first round action for the Midwest region?
So I've been hearing a lot of love for Georgia. I got to tell you, I was extremely disappointed in Georgia and how they played against Ole Miss in the SEC tournament. Mike White just doesn't do it for me. The St. Louis coach, I wrote it. Josh Schertz, right?
Yeah.
He's they just gave him a lot of money at St. Louis to stay.
Yep.
Some donors back. So they really, again, teams go through their ebbs and flows for the season. Unfortunately, they're at the end of the season, they hit a little bit of a tailspin. But you still have to take into consideration the whole body of work. Maybe putting a lot of times I'll, maybe do like a 30%, how they've done the last 10 games into the 70% of their overall numbers. I think they pull the upset. I didn't bet it. Just the number was fair, what I made it. So I think it'll be a close game, but I would love to see the upset. So I did take St. Louis over Georgia to face Michigan in that one.
Okay. I like that game. I think I have that as well. I have SLU on my sheet as well. Don't listen to me, but I have it. John Gross has Akron back as a 12 seed. Former Illini head coach. He's creating a little mini MAC dynasty at Akron with the number of years they're making the tournament. 29-5. Shoot the ball pretty well. Can we get an Akron first round upset over Texas Tech?
Yeah, they're one of those trendy dogs right now, right? Everyone loves Akron, and I love Akron. I took them all 3 games in the conference tournament, and I went 0-2-1. I think when I was on VSiN with Matt and Tim, that line did move from 7 to 6.5. I didn't reload on 6.5. I got it at 7 earlier in the day, but against Buffalo, they had a big lead, kind of took their foot off the pedal, and then they just against Toledo. It almost looked they were a little nervous in the first half. They did end up taking a lead in the second half, a nice lead, and they just couldn't hold on to it. And then they needed the big shot at the end. But you said it, coach is doing a great job at Akron. And this is, from the last 2 years, they made this. I think they've won 3 in a row at Akron, maybe 4 in a row.
I think they've won. I think that's like their 4 in 5 years or something.
Yeah, something like that. I know it's 3 in a row because I wrote the numbers down. In 2024, they had a net rating of 4.6. 2025, 6.5, and they've doubled that to 12.8 this year per Ken Pom.
Wow.
So I think they're going to be a little more loose, because sometimes when you see when they saw Miami of Ohio lose, sometimes teams get a little tight, knowing we still have to win. Miami's probably in, but we have to win. We're not the darlings of the MAC like Miami of Ohio is. So I think they were a little uptight for those 3 games. And now that they're the underdog, might be a little looser. And, they're playing a Texas Tech team without Toppin, their best player. He's out. And, Tech's up and down. So we'll see. The line's fair now. It was 10. I think it's down to 7.5 or 8. I made it with the adjustment of Toppin out. I made it 7.5. But I would like to see Akron get it done. So I did place them to advance again for everyone. Well, you place them advance. Why didn't you bet them? Again, it's about a number. Brackets and betting are 2 different things. I know there might be some people that don't understand that, so we'll try to teach them and educate them with this. What I made the number, what you make, you may make the number Akron 5, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go bet it. But this is my number that I've already adjusted for. And I just think you're going to see a lot more money coming in on Akron in the next day or so as well. So, but I got them to advance. I'd love to see it. I love the MAC. I love the MAC. I love looking at the MAC. I love, analyzing the MAC and betting the MAC. So Go Akron. Go Zips.
All right. Well, either way, whether it's Texas Tech or Akron, they're going to maybe get Alabama in the second round, depending on how that goes with Hofstra. Let's talk about that Alabama situation for a minute. No Aiden Holloway. How big of an impact was he for this squad? And how do you think that is going to impact their chances as they move along in the tournament?
I tweeted it out as soon as I saw the news that it's a massive, massive loss. Okay. He's plus 12, his net ratings when on off the court numbers are plus 12.8. So when he's on the court versus off the court, Alabama's 12.8 points per 100 possessions better. Okay, again, you have to take into account maybe some other lineups and so on, but when you equate that to a point spread, I thought it was like a 3-point difference in the point spread, and now the number's kind of fair. So I had it like 13 something, and it's now down to 10. I think that's what the number is. You guys, I don't have the lines in front of me, but man, what a time to do dumb things, I guess, and I don't know. They're going to have to – Nate Oates is a great coach, but he's a significant loss. Some other guys are going to have to step up. I don't know who can step up and fulfill that. I mean, you have to look to the third and fourth scores and maybe add a little bit more minutes. They still have Phylon, who's very good, but they don't really have any bigs on the inside that can score. And defensively, it's the same old Alabama. They can't defend. But I do have them getting by and beating Hofstra. Now I think that game's gonna be a lot closer than what the line is. Hofstra slow, tortoise pace. They play really slow. And how do you beat teams with that much more talent than you? You got to slow the game down. You got to take efficient shots. And Alabama's going to try to, they're going to push tempo. They want to let the 3-point shots fly. But not just 3-point shots. They like to get to the rim as well. So Hofstra's going to have, a little bit smaller of a team. They're going to have to defend the paint a little bit better, which is going to be tough for them. But if they can slow the game down and they get hot from the outside, they keep it close. I just don't think they have the talent. But we don't know the psyche of Alabama right now. We don't know. But I'm just going on the rest of the talent, and I've got Alabama to beat Hofstra. And then I'm going to ride the Zips, man. I'm just going to ride the Zips.
Did I have that too?
Yeah, I had a follower tweet at me today, want to know what numbers I made to the Akron to get to the Sweet 16, and there was a small edge, like 1.9%, which it's an edge. It's not a huge edge, but I think they're 20-1 to get to the Sweet 16. Something I might have to look at, But I'll tweet it out on X if I take it. It's just it's tough. A lot of things got to go your way to win a 20-1 in 2 tough games like that.
Sure.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, to me personally, and me looking across this board, out of all the most potentially interesting games, I'm kind of circling that potential second round battle between Tennessee and Virginia. Are you seeing those two going up against each other? And if so, which team do you like to come out of that, and how far can they go?
I like Virginia. I think Virginia's going to beat. I think Tennessee beats SMU. I think I told you I had SMU minus the 6.5. They could go on, play Tennessee. Tennessee, too big and physical, too strong on the inside. Just not enough defensively for SMU, and even the crappy Tennessee defense or offense can score against SMU. So I think they advance, play Virginia. I like this Virginia team. A big contrast from the 2019 team that walked the ball up the floor. They were efficient, needed miracle after miracle after miracle to win the national championship. I jokingly tell people I could write a dissertation on how that was the luckiest national championship of all time. Normally when teams win championships, their net rating from the before the tournament to the after the tournament will go up. It won't go up significantly. I've done research on this. It's about a median. About 2.6, it will go up. Okay, yeah. Whether between in net rating, not depending. Maybe the offense goes a little bit better. Usually the offense and defense kind of coincide. But Virginia's went down. Yeah. They're the only team in the Ken Palm era that I looked at that they went down. So they were lucky to win the 2019 title. I like this Virginia team. A little nugget here. I was in attendance when UMBC beat number 1 Virginia in 2018. I was at the game.
Oh, really?
Wow. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That's my claim. That's my claim to fame, man. I was there live. I saw the first number 1 seed, and they were the number 1 overall seed, if I can remember. Yeah. And they got their butts handed to them by 20. It was beautiful. Well, hold on. I might have a buddy listen who went to the University of Virginia, so it wasn't so pretty for him. He was not happy.
I will say this, that their national title, as undeserved as it was deserved for no reason other than the prior year they had to be the team to be the first ever 1 seed.
First ever.
Yeah,
and you were
like
there.
A karma
That's
thing
amazing
for them.
I was there.
Didn't deserve.
If my buddies are watching, put it in the comments. They might not. I don't know if they're watching now. Just put it in the comments. They'll be like, yeah, he was there.
That's fantastic.
Well, I'm going to be in St. Louis this weekend, and we're planning on going to a few games in the St. Louis region this weekend. Cool. I hope to see something cool like that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Amazing. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. It's just, the atmosphere was so electric. It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
So, but I got a Virginia advancing over Tennessee, and I have an upset with Santa Clara. I didn't bet it. Again, the numbers are about the same. The numbers are fair, but I think Santa Clara it will get the job. I just can't back this Kentucky team this year. I can't do it.
Now,
Santa Clara is tough. Efficiently, they're very good on defense. And Herb Sendek's done an amazing job at Santa Clara. And I'm glad they got in. I know there was some talk they might not get in, but if you look at the 10 rating, they were in. So I got them playing Iowa State. I've got Iowa State beating Santa Clara. And then I got Iowa State over Virginia. I just think Iowa State's really tough, and that's the big one, Michigan versus Iowa State. I'm gonna ride the Wolverines with that one. That's gonna be a good game. But I'm gonna ride with Michigan to the Final Four.
Okay. Either one works for me because I have tickets on both of them.
Wow.
So I would be happy either way there. All right. I think that covers it. Let me ask just one random question. It felt, we talked several times now. At one point last year, you seemed a little high on Pope at Kentucky. Yeah. Are you down now on Pope at Kentucky, or is this just a funky team?
I just think that the way they put the roster together, I don't think it works to what he wants to do. The BYU team, they shot a lot of threes. Kentucky's not a tremendous three-point shooting team, and he doesn't have a lot of bigs on the inside that can really do damage. There's just offensively, I just don't like the makeup. They're gonna have to get a good general manager, and they have GMs now, ladies and gentlemen. They have GMs in college, so they got to start. And he's an analytical guy, but I think they need to go to like a mid-major and get a kid that can be like the eighth man that's happy, but is good, and say, hey, we'll give you, 500, 600, 700,000, as opposed to, going somewhere else and you can play for Kentucky. I just think all these kids, man, they have bigger aspirations on it's just the synergy of the team. Aberdeen comes from Florida, and you win a national championship and you go to Kentucky. Why? Oh, because they paid me an extra $1 million or $2 million.
Yeah,
that's the problem right now. And he hasn't been a great fit for Kentucky. He was a great fit for Golden at Florida. We all watched him last year. The guy was awesome, but he hasn't been great this year.
Interesting.
That could be a cautionary tale on how you might be hurting yourself long term by taking the short term bag.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
okay.
Interesting.
All right. Any other thoughts for us on the Midwest? Or are we good to head on over to our final region?
I think we're good.
Okay.
All right.
Let's move on to the West then. Arizona at the 1, Purdue at the 2, top right corner of my bracket. How are we feeling in the first round here? Before we even I hate this region. Like, are we still team don't trust Tommy Lloyd?
I mean, you can't trust Tommy Lloyd until he shows it, right? Until he gets to the Final Four.
We're both on team don't trust Tommy Lloyd, so I don't know what to do. It feels like I don't really like anyone in this region too much. How do you feel about this region?
It's tough. I tell you, the best player in the region, though, that I just bet him 150 to 1 to be the number one pick is Darius Acuff Jr. That kid is unbelievable. He's tremendous. And I think if he can put together a run, which I'm hoping he does, we'll get to the advanced bracket. I think then the talk of him, Cal said, how come he's not in the conversation for number one? Does everyone seeing what he's doing? He's the SEC Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And he's not just a scorer, he's efficient, and he makes his teammates better. He's averaging like six assists a game, and he was compared to like Pistol Pete Maravich statistically the other day. I can't remember the stat. They're like the only player that ever did this was Pistol Pete. I'm like, what? How come we're not talking about this guy? So he's tremendous. We'll go real quick. I got Utah State in a mild upset over Villanova. Basic, coin flip game. Utah State's favored by a little bit there. I didn't bet it, but I got Utah State in that one. I have Wisconsin over High Point. I know High Point's the darlings. A lot of people talking about High Point to cover the spread. I jumped on Wisconsin. I took Arkansas over Hawaii. It was almost a bet for me, and I just stay on X. I made the number 18.5. I think it's 16 right now I'm hoping to see if there's any love for Hawaii to get to 15.5. I don't think there is. I'd like to see a 15.5, just have a little bit bigger of an edge. But I think Arkansas advances. I got Arkansas and Arizona in the Sweet 16, and man, I just don't trust Tommy Lloyd. I like Arkansas. So I jumped on Arkansas in that one in a big upset to go on to the Elite Eight, and that's what I'm hoping. Like Darius Acuff can like kind of. And Cal did a great job with Arkansas last year. You know, everyone he got fired from Kentucky or he left or however it worked out. You know, he did really well. He got what did he get in the Elite Eight last year? I think. Yeah. So you know he's kind of figured some things out. You know.
So let me ask this: I like that Wisconsin Arkansas game in the second round. That seems like that would be a fun one. How do you what do you make that game? Like what would you see that being in terms of a point spread?
I would say Arkansas by 3.
3? Arkansas by 3. Okay. All right. My Big Ten bias is showing in this region. I can definitely tell that. I have whiskey knocking off Zona in the Sweet 16.
Oh,
but
wow.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing. I don't trust Tommy Lloyd. This goes back to when I was doing the coaches who can't win it all. I took that off this year. We're doing other gambling this year, Mike. What about in the bottom of the bracket? Anything interesting from first couple rounds there?
Yeah. Do we have an NC State score tonight?
Oh, baby. Tell me you have NC State upsetting BYU.
I didn't bet the game, but they're down 7. I'm looking right now, about 3:44 left. So I thought they were going to win, and NC State was going to go on and play. So I might have to change this now if they lose. But this is what I had for the podcast. I did take NC State to upset BYU. Devance is tremendous, probably the number 1 pick. I just defensively, I mean, he's got a high usage rate. I'm not enamored with the rest of the roster. And Young has not done a great job, in my opinion, with BYU. But I did take NC State. But I might, if Texas wins, I might have to adjust that a little bit.
Yeah. And
maybe then take BYU. But I have the Zags over Kennesaw, big in that one. And then I have the Zags. It'll be either over BYU or NC State. And then the bottom bracket, I did make a bet real quick. I did bet Miami minus 1.5.
Okay.
It was a numbers play. I made it 4.1, and I just think they got the better coach in that one. I mean, I couldn't believe without Acuff at home, Missouri had to win the game at the time they had to win, and they lost in overtime to Arkansas. That was enough for me. I'm not a big Missouri guy at all.
Any chance I can bet against Missouri, Mike? I will do it.
Yeah.
Any chance.
Lock it in.
Oh, yeah.
Lock it in. Go along.
Definitely lock it in. Miami's good. I mean, they're real good. The guy, analytically, they're sound. But against Purdue, Purdue's just too tough. I think Purdue's clicking on all cylinders right now. I got Purdue to beat Miami. I got Purdue to face the Zags in the Elite and the Sweet 16. I'm going to keep riding Purdue, and I'm riding Purdue all the way to the Final Four.
Wow.
I mean, they're the preseason number 1. I worry about them defensively, but I don't know. Matt Painter, I think he might be figuring some stuff out. He's got a couple top-notch 4-year guys playing for him. It's tough because I wanted to go Arkansas, but I think analytically, when you just look at the metrics and everything, Purdue is slightly better than Arkansas, and I'm going to take Purdue to get to the Final Four against Michigan.
Mike, I'm looking over my bracket, and I think there must have been some osmosis of your projections and your knowledge throughout the year being soaked into me. Because I mean, like, outside of, I have St. John's over Northern Iowa, but I'm looking at my list here. I've got USF. I've got VCU. I've got Santa Clara. I've got Akron to the Sweet 16. I've got SLU. I've got Utah State. I've got NC State.
There you go.
I'm hooked up. I've got Purdue in my Final Four as well.
There you go.
So
All great minds think alike.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anything
And,
else on
hey,
the West?
to the viewers, we didn't text, we didn't talk about anything. Nothing.
No, but I have been stealing his information not stealing. I have been utilizing his
Reading.
information
Utilizing.
all season long, and I think that's definitely showing through in my bracket now that I think about it. Anything else on the West before we get to this Final Four?
No, nope. Just Miami was as of now. Again, check my my X page, and if I throw anything else on. But as of now, Miami's the only bet. But Purdue versus Michigan, I've got Michigan handled them pretty good when they played at Purdue. Purdue was weird this year, man. They couldn't play at home. They struggled at home this year. It's a neutral, but I gotta ride Michigan. I'm riding Michigan versus Duke in the national championship game in a rematch. And in the rematch, it's going to be close, but I think they have the length. If they just don't turn the basketball over, Michigan, please don't turn it over. If they lose, I want people to go look. How many turnovers did they have? And what did the opposing team shoot from three-point range? Because that's the only way they can lose. If they turn it over and they don't defend a three. Now, sometimes, again, we say three-point shooting is just variance. If a kid's shooting a 25-footer and you got a hand up, and what are you going to do? Things like that. But just kind of keep an eye on that. I got Michigan over Duke in the national championship game. It'll be a toss-up game. Those are the top, teams at Ken Palm. And then hopefully we can cash that 25-1 ticket, and then maybe hedge back a little bit because it'll be about an even game, and it'll be 3 out of 4 years that I'll cash. 4 years ago, I had UConn 40-1, didn't win it 2 years ago, and last year I had Alabama in the Final Four that year though, and I had them at 60-1, but they got blasted by UConn. But the year before, I had UConn when they upset, when they beat San Diego State. And then last year, there was the big one. I texted you. We talked about it. I had Florida back in November, 60-1, and that was a big time sweat. So let's just get Michigan to the final, and we can hedge a little bit, and make a little money.
Yeah, I'm in on that. It's crazy to me, Mike. You had Duke, Illinois, Purdue, and Michigan. I had Duke, Houston, Purdue, and Michigan. I have Duke versus Michigan, and I have Michigan cutting down the nets too.
Wow.
So
Let's
we
do
have
it.
this bracket
Let's
that I
do
put
it.
together, I think is ready to go.
He took Illinois farther than you did.
That's the craziest part of this whole thing. Well, I'm just tired every single time. Brad,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I'm the coaches who can't win it all guy, and Brad Underwood's got some questions to answer.
Is he getting there?
Okay.
He might
All right.
be getting there, but man, you're the number 2. I mean, we're seeing record offensive efficiencies this year in all college basketball, and he's number 2 right now, and he's got some studs, and hopefully he can get it done.
Let me put it this way. Illinois played Alabama, Texas Tech, Tennessee, and UConn, plus they played the entire Big Ten schedule, and the only team that I thought the entire season that just laid it to Illinois was Michigan. So
Yeah.
I feel good about that. I don't feel good about Illinois in any close games, but I am happy to not win my bracket pool and to finally see Illinois get back to a Final Four. The last time they were in the Final Four, I was in Orange Crush, Mike. It was my junior year at Illinois, and I have been waiting for them to return ever since.
Any year now.
Thank you so much, Mike. Any other thoughts from you before we let you go?
No, just if you're in a bracket, if you're doing bracket pools, some things to consider. If you're in a smaller bracket like 20, 25 guys, you want to be a little bit more conservative, with your picks. And if you're in a big bracket like 100 to 200 or even more, obviously ESPN, you gotta take some shots. You want to win those brackets.
Take some shots.
So even though it depends, you want to win, or are you going to root for how many people are going to have Duke and Michigan and these top teams? Yeah, you gotta pick some upsets.
Yeah, I thought your comment was really interesting. We're talking about two different things. We're talking about your bracket picks, and we're talking about your betting, and those are not the same thing.
Not
like
the same.
in your bracket, you're probably going to take some upsets. In your betting, you're probably looking for just the number that's good.
Right.
So
You are absolutely couldn't have said it any better. And sometimes people don't understand it. What do you mean you got Akron going to the Sweet 16 and you're not betting them? I'm like, well, because the number says it, not to take it. And then, I'm going to root for Akron to advance.
No one's ever. Well, Kalshi's given away $1 billion if someone can get a perfect bracket.
I saw
That's
that.
hilarious.
That's hilarious. They're like, this is ridiculous. No one's ever going to do this. So let's give out $1 billion.
Wow.
So there, you absolutely should take some shots. Have some fun with your brackets, folks. But don't screw around too much with the betting. Let's cash some tickets.
Let's cash some tickets. Mike, thank you so much, bud.
Hey guys, appreciate it. Good luck with all your bets, and hopefully we can cash some tickets.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. You can find all of Mike's content on Twitter at Bets and Reps. And as I mentioned, you can click right through to his Substack in his profile there on his Twitter page. We'll be back in 2 weeks.